Hello everyone. Despite the strides made in education, many indigenous and disadvantaged communities still face significant barriers to accessing culturally responsive and inclusive education. It's within this challenging context that I would like to introduce Dr. Suria Selasih Angit, a passionate educationalist from the Indigenous Orang Asli Temiar community in Malaysia and an academic at the University of Nottingham in Malaysia. Dr. Suria is dedicated to addressing these pressing issues through her work. Welcome to the Rhythm Connect podcast. Dr. Suria.
Thank you, Datin Sri, for having me, and also the team as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Suria, you're a proud member of the Orang Asli community, a PhD holder, and a passionate advocate for advancing education for indigenous and disadvantaged communities. In addition to this, very accomplished and multifaceted personality, what else should we know about you?
Okay. That's a very interesting question. And yeah.
Yes.
The one thing that I would like everyone to know about me is I'm into this. I'm very big into co-creation. So that is actually my mission. So I would love to invite more people to co-create with me in the field of Orang Asli or Indigenous education, because this is part of me giving back to the communities and also fulfilling my promises to my late father. Because we made significant sacrifices to be able to be where we are at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's important for me to give back to the people and see how we could co-create together. Yeah.
Yeah, this, based on your work and your experiences that you have, which has shaped you to be who you are today, I'd like to start with an important question. And I'm sure this journey would not have been an easy one for you. And based on Rhythm's experience of wanting to work with the indigenous community, I think the only way I see to uplift them as well is to get more of the young people to be educated, so that, because they say knowledge is power, so that they can represent and at the same time empower the younger ones in their community as well, because I just feel that's the only way any community can be uplifted or come out of their situations as such, is for younger ones to go back in and to show that, every one of them can be somebody in the community. My first question would be that, what were the crucial factors that contributed to your accomplishments, given the disparities the Orang Asli have historically faced, in the sphere of education and other areas?
All right. Before I go further, I'd like to highlight that a lot of my sharing will be based on Indigenous Orang Asli context.
Right.
Because I think it's important to highlight that different Indigenous communities or groups, even in Malaysia itself, would be facing slightly different struggles. So in the context of Orang Asli of Peninsular Malaysia, our struggles would be slightly different from the ones in Sabah and Sarawak. So I think,
oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction that we have to make.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so going back to the question just now,
yes,
I would say that I would highlight 2 points or 2 factors. The first one would be my departure point. This is something that I really want to highlight as well, because my departure point when I first started schooling, my late father, had some level of exposure to how the education system worked. He himself didn't finish education.
Right.
But he had this intention of giving the children the highest level of education as possible. So with that starting point or departure point, I would say like certain barriers in terms of awareness had been painfully removed by my father, by my family before me, so that I could actually go. So they sent me to a mainstream school.
Right.
I'm not saying this is the best thing or the right thing to do, but given the time and context, that was something we had no other option. So I went through the mainstream education system, and that was a different challenge altogether. But I got more exposure to certain things that a lot of Orang Asli children, even now, are not getting. So, and the second point is actually I was very lucky because my talents were identified early on. My talents seem to match with the academic setting, the schooling system that we have, academic talents, right? So a lot of children, Orang Asli children included, have different sets of talents or different skill sets that are not recognized by our education system. So I was lucky because I had this academic talents and also talents in language learning, which were very much what people were doing in school, right? So even though I had to go through a lot of, hurdles like being bullied, being mocked by other friends, being the only Orang Asli student in the school, I had something. I knew I had this talent. So this is important. Why I'm highlighting this, because this gave me some level of resilience, knowing that I have my worth. So this is what we are trying to have. We want more Orang Asli children to recognize their strengths, their talents, and their worth, so that they can build more resilience and they could potentially, achieve anything that they want. So that is missing at the moment, right? Recognizing our Orang Asli talents. So we're hoping that we could do that more.
So it just brings me an interesting, because you yourself is an Orang Asli, so it's very interesting. Now I can throw these questions at you so that we can understand better, right? Because we have set up that school, right? That Sekolah Batik for the Batik community, right? And then from there, they're being transferred to the public schools because. So what do they have as a basic, education, if they are not, let's say, in the mainstream school? So in their village or so, right? Or do they have some kind of community center or something where they are being taught something, the Orang Asli kids?
At the moment, we do have this concept of community learning centers in some of the villages or settlements or posts, but then not every community would have that. So I believe the one that RYTHM Foundation is running at the moment is for the Batik people. That is a good initiative, because usually if we have community learning centers in the community themselves, so it's easier for us to connect home cultures and learning environment or school culture or learning center culture, if you want to call that. So at the moment we don't have enough of that. During my time, we didn't have any. So
because I don't know if this is, we just think that, it's also the public school is where they have to take a boat and, they have to come out and then go. It's not also very convenient for these kids. So we have this, the community, based kind of a center that we have. And I think it's kind of working well for them. Then these kids get acclimatized, to what is education. Because we also feel that we don't want to take away who they are.
Correct.
No? Because I just feel sometimes a lot of entities like us tend to go in and try to, in the name of helping, sometimes we take away what, but their culture is very rich and y'all are very connected to nature. And I think that's a nice way to, to live. So without taking that away, to put them back in the education, based on, because we are very new right now, working with the indigenous community, but I see it as something that's very needed in this country, because we have to embrace them. We have to be proud of, having the Orang Asli and not saying that, looking at that community itself, any part of Malaysia, being a burden, and they're not, because they are very much part of, what do you say, sons and daughters of this nation. What do you see as the most pressing issue in education today, particularly for the indigenous communities?
Okay. In my opinion, this will cover a lot of issues actually, because this is a multifaceted issue, right? Dismantling or removing the barriers that are stopping our Indigenous children to flourish in school. That is a pressing issue. I know a lot of conversations about education for Orang Asli communities or students, most particularly, would be talking about high dropout rates, lower academic achievement. And so a lot of interventions are focusing solely on that without addressing the underlying issues, which are the barriers that we are facing. So if our main concern is only to see higher percentage in school attendance or higher A's or more passes, getting higher percentage of students getting passed in exams and stuff like that, I think we are not addressing the actual root cause of the issue.
What is the root causes? What's something main? If I ask you, what's the main root cause you see?
Okay.
We have to break it.
Yeah. The root causes, the barriers would be, first of all, the economic barrier.
Right.
So I always believe that we talk about education, but I think that in Sri, you will also agree with me on this. Apart from education, living in poverty would also, economic factor is an important thing as well, because if you don't have enough resources to go to school or to get certain help, certain support, then you will not be able to flourish as well as other people who have certain resources.
True.
So now we are trying to have both education and economic activities or livelihood projects together, hand in hand, so that we could address educational issues, youth unemployment, and also giving community members means to live and to actually get support for education. So apart from economic, also geographical barrier, I think by what you shared with us, like students had to take boats, and also that is very common for Orang Asli and Indigenous students in Malaysia.
Right.
All right. And then we also talk about internal barriers as well. For example, our personal struggle being Orang Asli or being Indigenous. What does indigeneity mean to us? With people from left, right, center telling us, in order for you to become successful, you have to be like this, and your culture, your traditional knowledge are not valued. So how does that impact us as an Indigenous or Orang Asli person? So if students don't have that, pride going to school, surviving school, especially in a more mainstream setting, would be a challenge. Yes, we have primary schools where students go to all Orang Asli schools, where bullying and also problems with identity struggle and stuff like this are not very, it's not a big problem, but at one point, students will actually go integrate into a mainstream school. Either in secondary school, if they manage to pass or to get the requirements to go to higher education, then they still need to integrate, and they still need to be able to be proud of themselves in the higher education sector, right?
Right.
So we have a lot of graduates. A few years back, we had University of Nottingham had this program, this workshop with Orang Asli unemployed graduates. So we spoke with them. We did about a 3-day workshop with them, and we tried to understand what is the, you've got a university degree. What is stopping you from getting a job?
Right.
So a lot of these students, these graduates who actually got relatively good results at university, they are saying we don't feel that we are, good enough to compete with other people. One graduate, even said, I went for the interview, I looked around me and I said, okay, maybe I should just go home and, so because I don't feel equipped to. And this is something, this personal struggle is something that we really need.
And this is after getting a degree,
correct,
right?
Yes.
So I think they kind of, it's still there sometimes, right? How does the society look at me? Right. So we need to, I think that should be, it doesn't matter who you are, as long as you are qualified and you're coming in for the job, then so I think it's their confidence. Wow.
True.
So that you do have a lot of them unemployed.
Yeah, we do. And that is also another area that we are exploring now. I talked about graduates before, right? Those who drop out of school. that's even more people drop out of school, and that is even bigger issue for us to explore as well. Yeah, but of course there are also graduates who are doing well as well. I don't want to. Yeah.
So you have that as well.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of percentage, I think you have more of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So we need to tackle those problems as well. Yeah. So, what aspect of your advocacy for Indigenous and inclusive education advocacy do you feel that you have made the most progress in?
It took me a while to think, actually. Right? So,
It's really when people come and ask us the same thing. I mean, it's just Batik community, just one small community, but there's a lot to be done, isn't it?
Yeah.
So were you able to make any progress at all in your work? Because I know it's a difficult path. It's not easy. So, were you able to see anything, even to get, let's say, our government to kind of wake up and, look at one part of it and say, okay, this one, maybe we can do something and, go into the community and do it. Anything that you see as even a little bit significant.
Yeah, I think this also remind me particularly to learn more how to celebrate our own wins, small wins, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the question, I would say this is work in progress, of course. I have a long way to go. And I'm quite happy with how we've managed to actually create opportunities for partnership between Orang Asli communities and students and non-Orang Asli partners happening with a more balanced power dynamics.
Right.
Okay. By that, I mean, traditionally, usually, when we say community engagement in education, I'm talking about in education sector, usually we invite parents to come and sit, listen to like motivational talks or come for parent-teacher meeting and things like that. And usually parents play very passive roles.
Yes.
So what we've been trying to do for the past few years is actually to have programs where parents can actively take part, make decisions, and also evaluate the program as well. For example, I'm giving you an example. We have this project in Gua Musang. This is a collaboration with Institute for Democracy and Economic Affairs, IDEAS. So we have this program, robotics program, implemented by International Islamic University with the Orang Asli School, SMK Panggung Jaya in Gua Musang. So one, we want to identify Orang Asli talents in STEM, and also two, what is unique about this program is we actually invite Orang Asli parents to come and actually contribute to the some part of module development and then delivery and also the evaluation part later on as well. So we also have another similar one also in Gua Musang for entrepreneurship skills in a different school, because that school needs a different set of skills. So for example, when we say parents or Orang Asli communities need to be given opportunities to make decisions, and a lot of people ask me, how do we do that? Because parents are not familiar with the school setting. So this is the opportunity for us to actually invite parents, committee members to actually come and run a session. For example, tell us about what it means being Orang Asli in this particular area. For example, being a Temiar community in Gua Musang.
Right.
What are the natural resources that we have around here, environment, what is important for them, and this information need to take. They need to take this seriously. It's not just about listening passively, but the sharing by the parents need to be used as the resource for module developers to actually include that very localized knowledge. Right. And then we will also invite the parents to come and be involved in two of the program delivery. So then they will be helping, I would say, more or less like teaching assistant.
Yeah.
So that is very useful skills, because parents could learn how to manage their children's education and how to support, and they could actually go back and share with the community members as well. That's what we are hoping for. And then later in the third stage, they will evaluate, they will give their feedback, and So I think they also have a say in evaluating a program, right? But we don't do that enough now, so we want to,
But so you are, I mean, are the parents like open to it? Are they willing to come and do it? Which is, in a way, we are also educating the parents,
Correct.
right? But in a way, by getting them involved and telling them that you have a say in this as well and what we are doing, it also gives a self-worth to the parents as well, right? Because they don't even have that economic support as well, like you say. And sometimes, they struggle, like even for food for the family, even for one day. I mean, they struggle like every day to get food, So I think getting them involved in this kind of thing, I think it gives them a self-worth as well. I mean, like you said, I think it's more like small wins, right? which we can only hope for, right? I mean, given the dynamics of the situation, I think you and a foundation like us, RYTHM, the fact that I think recognizing and wanting to do and see that success in a small way with the Indigenous community, that's kind of gives us that pride that, we are in the right track and doing something good for the community that needs, that's in need. I'm going to sidetrack a little bit as well from the Indigenous and the education and stuff, that you were involved in a World Bank project, I'm told, to improve teaching and learning in Bangladesh. How has this influenced your work with Indigenous and disadvantaged communities in Malaysia? And I mean, this project, Improve Teaching and Learning in Bangladesh, is it with a certain community or it's just like for their disadvantaged community? Can you just tell us about it?
Yeah, it's a partnership with the Ministry of Education, higher education actually. We train their university lecturers, university professors. So a lot of these professors or academic lecturers, they have degrees in physics or chemistry, for example. So what they do, we have award-bearing programs like MA in education, and also non-award bearing like training for school leaders and college, they call college leaders. So this is not only for marginalized communities or disadvantaged communities, but for the whole nation. The most important lesson that I learned is that from my experience working with the Bangladeshi higher education and meeting the beautiful people of Bangladesh, and it's just a reminder, a reflection that all of us, we are all trying to, to create a better space for us, for ourselves, and also for our future generations, right? So we could see this in Bangladesh as well, because people, the Bangladeshi government and the people are they really want to improve their teaching and learning in higher education sector. And what the lessons that I think are applicable in many contexts would be, one, we need to understand the context, right? So this is where needs analysis, situation analysis are very important. Two, the importance of capacity building. So this is in my work with the Orang Asli here, capacity building of the community members. That is very important for sustainability. Because I could see that even though the World Bank project in Bangladesh ended last year, so we concluded the project last year, we could see that the continuity with the we call them master trainers that we train throughout the 5-year project. They are actually continuing the work, and they are doing tremendous things with the teachers there. So I'm hoping the same could be done with our Orang Asli communities as well. We partner with the communities, with mothers, with fathers, and then we could actually capacity build the community members. Then they can they can take up from there.
I think working with the communities, I think it's very important that, because that's what we realize as well when we go into any community and we are doing any kind of projects, whether it's with women or children, the capacity building is very important. Getting involved, getting the community members involved. And like you said earlier, because you said for education, I asked you what do you see as something that we have to overcome? You said the barriers, and you started listing the barriers, and it just kind of made me think, because when we went into the Batek community, we realized we can't just focus on the kids alone. We have to look at the community holistically.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that means the men, the women, the in between, the youth, you know, then the kids, you know, and we have to look at all of them and see also how we can give some self-worth back to them, or a social enterprise, you know, setting up a social enterprise by which they can get some income. So we have to look at the community holistically. And in order to do that, you have to do that capacity building within the communities, right? I mean, that's how it's going to work. How can educators and policymakers, I'm just making it more, because it's very important, I think. We need those. We need their support and help and buy-in power. Better support the integration of indigenous perspectives and knowledge into mainstream education system.
Okay. I think first of all, it's really important for all of us who are involved in this field, right, to recognize that we need to work together.
Yes.
There needs to be some level of coordination and also knowledge sharing, resource sharing, and we need a network.
Yes.
So because we know this part of the struggle, the other party knows the other part of the struggle, so that is really important. And also in terms of working with Indigenous communities and Indigenous students, I would say we need to revise the way we work, right? From being like top down to bottom up as well, or maybe just lateral where, you know, we co-create and negotiate and So in my work at the moment, we are testing this model. I mean, it's not exactly a new thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's something I always believe that academic advancement is always about, you know, learning from the past experience, learning from past studies, and then you try to adapt and see and, you know, what works for your context, what doesn't work, and then you include your own, you know, flavor to it, but depending on the needs of the context. So we are trying this model of a cyclical model. So I always highlight that the first step that we need when working in this field is we start with reflection. I call it RRCC. So we are still testing the model. Hopefully I could get some data out of it so that, you know. So reflection, we start with reflection. It's important to start with a reflection to check where our positions are. I think we do reflection at the end. That's great too. But we also need it in the beginning because we need to really be aware of, you know, the differences and similarities that we have between us and also the communities that we're working with, right?
Yeah.
And then the second R is relationship building. So you reflect, so you are more aware of your position, and then the student's position, parents' position, and then you build relationships. This is time consuming, but this is very important and meaningful as well, right? And then C is for co-creation. There is no other way. This is the part that we are lacking because we feel that, okay, we have the expertise, we have the resources, we have everything, so we know better than the communities. But the communities have resources as well. They have the traditional resources, the traditional knowledge, which we are losing day by day. So we want to capture that as well. So, and then and the second C is continuous monitoring and evaluation together with the communities. So, and it's a cycle, hopefully. I don't know. I mean, you know.
It's really nice. It's kind of giving, you're kind of giving us ideas as well. And I like your co-creation. That's going to be my word a lot, because this kind of works for any community work that we do, you know, reflecting as to what the community needs, like you said, first analyzing and seeing what needs to be done, you know, and I know the relationship building, that takes the longest, you know, to get that buy-in from the community, that is all relationship building, isn't it?
Correct.
So I'm going to kind of borrow this from you, but I will quote your name, and I think I'm going to just mention this to my team, and it's a nice way of, I mean, a very effective way of, I think, looking at even a project and working with the community. You kind of doing a lot of things, and I think you're also coming up with newer ways and analyzing and wanting to, because you come from the community, so you know the struggles better than any one of us. We are looking from outside. You are an insider, you know. So I think to know all that and to overcome that struggle in your own success story and to be where you are today, and still what you have done now is to go back in and help your community, and empower them. And I think it's the best way someone can live their life, that I feel. Dr. Suria, your journey and insights are truly inspiring. Truly it is. And your dedication to educational inclusivity for the indigenous and marginalised is such important work and so admirable. I'm sure our listeners will find this conversation extremely valuable. And to our listeners, you can learn more about Dr. Suria's work on the University of Nottingham Malaysia website at nottingham.edu.my. Remember, every small step towards inclusivity can make a difference. Whether advocating for culturally responsive education, supporting community initiatives, or simply educating ourselves about the challenges faced by the marginalised communities, our collective efforts can create meaningful change. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Your feedback helps us bring you more amazing guests and impactful stories. Thank you for tuning in.